Hello, everybody. Vasu Party, KC Freelove, and Charlie O here. This is the Make the Money and Run podcast, Major League Baseball preview for 2021. Let me take my glasses off here. I look like Star Wars, The Mandalorian, or something. I don't even watch any of that, so I have no idea. But anyway, thanks for joining us. It's midnight Eastern on the East Coast, 9 o'clock on the West Coast. We are one good night's sleep away from opening day of baseball. And since we didn't have any in April, this will be the first pitch in 2 years. Garrett Cole will throw the first pitch for the New York Yankees tomorrow, 1:05 Eastern, against the Toronto Blue Jays, and what's a highly anticipated matchup to begin with. Let me get to the preview show that we're at. Like I said, how you guys doing tonight? Let's go. What do we got going on tonight, Casey?
Just studying away like a schoolboy here. I do my homework. I try to give you people winners. I'm doing my best. And over the course of the season, as I've mentioned in my Facebook post earlier, if you're friends with me, that we're going to really talk about the dynamic of doing this, because this is not football. This is not basketball. It's not laying 110 to win $100, which is much simpler just for the average gambler to grasp. This is a sport where you cannot be betting heavy favorites. You just cannot do that. And if you have a way to win betting underdogs, Chuck, you don't have to hit 52% like you do at minus 110 odds to make money. And the cool thing is, these teams haven't played a long season in quite some time. So we're going to see streaks where good teams lose more games in a row than they should, and bad teams win more games in a row than they should. I'm very intrigued by the way this whole thing's going to go. And I didn't even mention the word COVID. Oh, shoot. All right.
Well, we're going to get to that. Go ahead, Charlie.
And it's already come into play. I mean, the Nationals have lost a coach and 4 players for tomorrow already to that, and that is going to be an issue. I mean, one of the things that you're going to want to do throughout this season is if you're going to lay money down and invest it, you're going to want to be checking rosters. You're going to be wanting to check injury reports and medical updates, because it's going to be a reality of the sport all season long. Especially early on during this cold weather portion of the season. I was listening to Pharrell coming home for a little bit, and he in Pharrell fashion, I don't know what I'm thinking about. I'm going to the ballpark tomorrow. It's going to be 20 degrees. Why do I live in this town? Why do I love the game? I'm going to go there and I'm going to freeze. I hate baseball. You know what? And he's right. Why is baseball starting on April the 1st? Seriously. I mean, I love the game. It's the first professional sport that I ever saw in my life. But you know when baseball used to start? Baseball used to start the middle of April. Why? Because all the bad weather had started to go away. It truly was spring. For the next 15 days, weather is going to be hellacious, and it is going to be a factor in all these games. I think it's supposed to be tomorrow. I think it's going to make 40 in New York, but then it's supposed to be 20 the next 2 days. It's insanity. Baseball is not supposed to be played in that kind of weather. Shame on you, baseball. Shame, shame, shame.
Well, I'd rather have it start in early April than have it go till the middle of November when it's going to be really cold, and then they have to cancel postseason games and throw pitching staffs off and all that as well too. But 162 games, they get everybody in after the first day, where for the first time in a long time, all 30 teams are going to play tomorrow. And then there's 6 games on Friday for rainouts or whatever the situation is, and then Saturdays. And then I think 6 teams have Sunday off in the first weekend of the year. So there's already going to be Sundays off, which would be good for Easter for a lot of people. And then down the road for the Masters the following weekend, there's going to be 4 teams off, so they'll get to watch Masters gameplay. All right, well, we're here to preview baseball, here to talk about baseball. I can't wait. Last April we didn't have anything, so I'm happy we're having it here. We had to wait till August, twiddling our thumbs, coming up with show topics and doing everything like that. Let me ask you, Casey, real quick, just off the top of your head, what are you looking that's interested to you in a couple of minutes as far as going into the season, considering where we were last year coming into this year?
I'm very intrigued by the entirety of the National League East, whether it's that COVID story that broke today with the Nationals, or if the Braves can really match what they did last year, considering the additions they made to their pitching staff. All the hype around, not the New York Yankees, of course they get hype, they're the Yankees, but the New York Mets, very intriguing team. And my surprise team this year, the Philadelphia Phillies, who I think are going to outplay some folks. So I'm looking at divisions that I think aren't going to be just kind of, well, it's going to be chalk, because, you know, you look at the West, and I know everybody wants to say the Padres are good enough to beat the Dodgers. They're not, if the Dodgers play as good as the Dodgers can. They're going to be a historic win team in the National League this year. That's what's going to happen if they stay healthy. But to stay on track here, that's what I like about it is all these markets have hope right now. It's very cool to think about the fact that, we're going to get 162 games in theory. I'm excited about that. And it's going to be so many different things to keep an eye on. I mean, whether it's a less lively baseball, which I'm sure you've read about if you're a fan of this show. Also, the COVID, as I mentioned. And really, Charlie, the grind of 162 games when some of these guys are coming off playing very limited. Some of them opted out of last season. I just think that it's going to be a real weird feel, and maybe win totals are going to be a little bit lower than we would think in a typical season, which is something we'll discuss in depth later. And I know I'm rambling. I'm excited.
That's okay, Casey, because it's 162 games, and we're going to need to ramble because we're going to have to fill it. But the point is that you made a very good point, is the fact that it was a shortened season last year, and these guys are not going to be used to this long throw that they're going to be involved in now this year with 162 games. And I really think that is going to come into play throughout the course of this season because they're not in 162 game shape. And I think more so than ever, watching those players who are going to be at the AAA level is going to be very important for fans to be watching, particularly pitching staffs. And then, just other key places, catchers, those kinds of things, because I think there's going to be a lot of rotational guys coming in and out of those lineups over the course of this season. I mean, I'm hoping it's not devastating injuries, of course, but what I think we're going to be dealing with is a lot of those nagging kind of injuries where guys are gone 7-10 days on the injury list and then back. And that makes a whole difference in the way the season goes for teams.
Savannah Party, Casey Freelove, Charlie O, the Make the Money and Run Major League Baseball preview for 2021. 13 hours from now, Garrett Cole will throw the first pitch for the New York Yankees at Yankee Stadium. I think there's 2 games at 1 o'clock Eastern, 2 games at 2 o'clock, 3 games at 2 o'clock, and then the Braves and Phillies open up at 3 o'clock Eastern with Aaron Nola and Max Fried. Let's start off with the American League East. Obviously, a big division, the Tampa Bay Rays. These games are all based on 60 games. There's only one team that didn't play 60 games, so these are win totals right here. You keep track of the opening day lines at the bottom as we have that scroll across the bottom. So if you've already got some ideas about pitchers and odds and overs and unders, here they are at the bottom for you as well. Let's start with the American League East. The Tampa Bay Rays coming off the AL Championship, 40 wins. The Yankees at 33 wins. The Blue Jays 32. Baltimore 25. Boston 24. Casey, the Tampa Bay Rays lose Blake Snell. They lose a couple of other guys. They're not set up as they were last year. Randy Arozarena is still a prospect, even though he had a big season. He still qualifies as Rookie of the Year candidate for 2021, which is crazy, but that's the legitimate case for that. Then you look at the Yankees. No Luke Voigt to open the season. Aroldis Chapman suspended. They did re-sign DJ LeMahieu. They did re-sign Brett Gardner. But after Garrett Cole, this is where it gets questioned from the pitching staff. And then Toronto, Vladimir Guerrero, Bichette, Marcus Semien, the former Oakland A's, at second. And Kevin Biggio, Craig Biggio's son, is playing third. And, of course, they signed George Springer. Again, their pitching is the issue after Hyun-Jin Ryu. They've got Tanner Roark, and they've got Steven Matz from other teams in that rotation as well. And then Baltimore and Boston. Boston's kind of improved themselves with Alex Verdugo, Kiki Hernandez. They've kind of revamped their roster a little bit. And then Baltimore, don't know where Baltimore's yet from that standpoint. But what do you look at in the American League East just from looking at what happened last year, Case?
Well, it's an intriguing division because you laid it out there as far as the Yankees pitching health. Obviously, they're going to score a ton of runs, and they do have maybe the best pitcher in Major League Baseball. So they're going to win their share of games. But when you get to the back end of the rotation, how do they compare to these other, Titans, as Las Vegas would call it? It's very interesting, guys, just looking. I got my World Series odds, my divisional odds, everything here in front of me. If you showed this to just a casual fan, some of these teams, they'd be like, really? That team's supposed to do that? That team's supposed to do that? And Tampa Bay is one of those teams that fits the bill. I want to say they're going to be competitive because as far as organizations, they're one of the best organizations in baseball. That team has no business ever sniffing a World Series, and they've gone to 2 because they know how to use their farm, use their arms, get young talent, develop it. And, of course, the Babe Ruth-esque postseason that you referenced with Randy Arozarena last year, that kind of helped propel them as well. I really wanted to keep an eye on the Toronto Blue Jays because I like what they did. I'm a big George Springer fan, even though he's a member of those cheating Houston Astros. Now that he's on the Blue Jays, I can really get behind him and root. I think Vladimir Guerrero has a ton of years of good baseball ahead of him. I like Bo Bichette quite a bit. I like everything about it. As far as, and I don't want to mix in COVID the whole time, but the whole Canada situation, that's going to be weird. I don't know exactly what's going on, and I forgive me for not reading up on that before we came on the air. But just based on looking at rosters, those are good teams. I think the Red Sox, they're such a weird franchise. I mean, I'd be just as shocked if they finish in the basement as if they end up finishing second in the division, because every year they just seem to find a way to either be really good or really bad, Chuck. So it's the Yankees division, but I think there is intrigue and definitely hope for another team to grab a wild card spot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, the Yankees are just so loaded that if they stay healthy, it's going to be really tough to not see that division going their way. Just because you start to look at the number of hitters they have, the pitching that they have, and it's the Yankees. If they don't have what they need come before the trade deadline, they'll go get what they need. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter is they're not a team that's afraid to go spend some money and get what else they need. And they aren't going to need that much because they have rebuilt, and they also have and something that they haven't had in years past is the Yankees have a really good minor league system now. They had let that go for years and years and years, and they now have one of the best minor league systems in all of Major League Baseball. So they've also got that going for themselves. So they've got players that we don't know about that are in reserve ready to bring up as well. Tampa Bay, you don't have to sell me. I mean, those guys, they just keep surprising me every time I turn around. I believe in them, and I totally agree with you on Boston. I wouldn't be surprised to see Boston excel. I wouldn't be surprised to see Boston tank. At this point, one of the reasons why I wouldn't be surprised to see Boston tank, and I don't mean that in the traditional tanking sense of selling off all the assets and everything else. Their ownership is not interested in that club anymore. Their ownership is interested in their investment in their soccer investment in the Premier League in England. And I really believe that John Henry and that group are going to bail out of that Boston club as soon as they can get the right price for it. And when you have ownership that's not that interested in your team, I don't know that they will, if the Red Sox have holes that they need to fill to make them better this year, I don't know that they'll be willing to spend the money to fill those holes. So I think that when I looked and saw that the projection was 80.5 games for them this season, 500. I wouldn't be surprised that that's probably pretty accurate for where they'll probably be, which will keep the folks in Boston semi-happy, which is what they usually are anyway.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that we mentioned the win totals. These are all from Las Vegas. Baltimore's at over under 64.5. Chuck just mentioned Boston at over under 80.5 wins on the season. And then you move up the charts, Tampa Bay at 85.5. That seems like a pretty good number, actually. Toronto 86.5. And then way up the charts, the New York Yankees at 95.5. As far as odds, if you're betting tonight for who's going to win the division, Yankees a clear-cut favorite at nearly 2-1. Tampa Bay will get you back plus 370, as will Toronto. And then maybe take a flyer. Boston, I mean, they're plus 2,000. So, throw $10. You want 2 cups of Starbucks coffee, you want to bet on the Red Sox and have a ticket you can hold for the next 6 months. I didn't mention Baltimore. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Baltimore. Yeah, absolutely. Can't forget about Baltimore. The Boston Red Sox are going to be improved. Tampa Bay, I don't know what's going to happen with their pitching staff. Their bullpen's going to be a little shaky. Everybody's got to have a bullpen. And without Chapman, Garrett Cole's going to have to carry that staff. He's going to have to figure it out. But Toronto is definitely the wild card amongst these 3 teams in the division. Let's move on to the NL East right now. So we're going to go East, Central, West. The Atlanta Braves, 35 wins. Miami Marlins, 31 wins with everything that they went through. We talked about it all last year. 28 wins for the Philadelphia Phillies. They were about a game or 2 behind the Giants in terms of the extra wild card spot that was there. The New York Mets, 26 wins. And the Washington Nationals, Charlie mentioned the Washington Nationals, 26 wins. I mean, we got to look at this, Casey. The New York Mets have probably improved themselves a great deal. And just before we came on the air, 10 minutes, and we're live on Facebook and on Stables Media YouTube page and on the YouTube channel as well. And if you missed any of it, you can download and subscribe anywhere you get it. But Francisco Lindor, about 11:45 Eastern, 11:40 Eastern, signed a $412 million contract. Did I read that right? Something like 10 years for Francisco Lindor. So he's going to be in New York for a while.
I think it's 341 million, I think is what they said.
Well, what's 70 million here or there when it's coming to baseball players? Bottom line. But Francisco Lindor is going to be, it's 10 years though, right? I think I saw that.
Yes, 10 years.
Okay, so he's going to be in the New York Mets organization for 10 years. I think New York is perfect for him. He's going to be a star there. Commercials are going to come his way between SNY, Wall Street, all the major manufacturers that are out there are going to have him there. The Atlanta Braves, they're not going to have any issues with their pitching. Ian Anderson struggled in spring training, but he came on late last year. Max Fried, the opening day pitcher, is their ace now, their de facto ace. And then the Miami Marlins, can't say enough about the Miami Marlins case, but missing 2 weeks of baseball, playing all those doubleheaders, still getting in the playoffs. They did get swept by the Braves in the playoffs, but they got 31 wins, and that's right up there in the National League. And I'll be interested to see how they come back from last year's COVID situation into a full season going in. Oh, and by the way, one more thing. Speaking of the COVID, I know we were going to talk too much about it. They are going to have extra players in terms of COVID like they did last year. They're still going to have a minor leagues that start on May 1st, but this will give all the teams an opportunity for 3 weeks until May 1st when the minor league season to have extra players around just in case there are scenarios. We hope there are not any scenarios based on last year, but that's the scenario that we're in right now. Go ahead, Casey.
Well, you triggered a thought there as far as the scheduling, because my radio station runs the Oakland A's, and I was looking at some of the strange off days. You pointed out a couple of Sundays with teams off, Wednesday travel days. I mean, we're all very used to the way baseball is structured, and I'm hoping that they built in some off days towards the end of the year if we're going to start squeezing in double headers. You know, if God forbid, if we have an outbreak on a team, because it's not impossible to think that could happen. Let's just ask the National Football League and the Titans or the Ravens. So we'll see. I mean, as our pal Robbie points out, the Nats already have 5 guys out. I think some of that's coaching staff, but it's still got to be a little disruptive to your mentality coming into a season, all fresh, all ready to go, all that hard work in the offseason, and all of a sudden a virus is going to derail it. We'll hope that doesn't happen. Look, I have the Marlins depth chart pulled up here, and I still can't believe they made the playoffs last year. And I just love that they do it for themselves. They're like the Cleveland Indians in the movie Major League. They're only playing for themselves. Nobody else seems to care about them, but they don't care about that, and they've done a really good job down there. I think the big stories are a couple that you've hinted on. The Mets. Let's talk about Jacob Degrom. He has a chance to join some pretty luxurious company. He could become the 10th pitcher ever to have 3 Cy Young awards. That's pretty select company. I love the offense, especially now that I know Lindor's there for the next decade. Pete Alonso's New York's darling. Jeff McNeil, Conforto. I mean, Dom Smith, you name it. The offense goes on and on and on. They're going to score a ton of runs. And if Noah Syndergaard can come back at some point this year and really give them that 1-2 punch, I think they will be there to challenge Atlanta, who I absolutely adore. I think this team is just nasty. Charlie Morton, Drew Smiley. You've already got Soraka, Fried, Anderson, who you pointed out. Oh, you got Ronald Acuna, who's kind of like Mike Trout of the NL East. They're going to be a very talented team. I expect them to put a lot of wins on the board. And this is going to be a fun one. I mean, if you look at the divisional odds, Chuck, Atlanta getting you back plus 130. They're the favorite, followed by the Mets at plus 145. Then it drops off a little. Nationals basically plus 570, Phillies plus 850. And then the Marlins, if you're really feeling feisty, plus 2,500 to win that division. Win totals, Braves up there at 91.5. That's a very high projection, but it seems solid. Mets at 90.5. I feel like they both can't get there. So if you're going to find an under, it'll be on one of those two. And then as we look further down in the division, Nats at 84.5 potential wins. The Phillies at 80.5. And then where are those Marlins at? I got to find the Marlins. 71.5 the projected win total. But Chuck, again, as I said in the open, this is a very watchable division. This will be a division that has me kind of, doing my show at work, which is a news show, but keep my eye on the MLB app while I'm working.
I hear that, Casey. And you know what? I think I'm not a big fan of long-term contracts, and that's not a big surprise to anybody who's watched our shows. But I think the Mets move with Lindor is huge for the stability of that team. They've had a lot of off-field issues this offseason that I don't want to enumerate. It's too bad. It's unfortunate. It's been ugly. They've got a new owner who really seems to love the game of baseball, has already shown that he's not afraid to reach down into that well-packed wallet and spend some money and do good things. And for him to get Lindor signed this way, I think it's got to say to all the players, hey, look, I'm here. I'm the new owner. This is a new day. We are going to build a winner here in Queens. And I think it's going to make psychologically a big difference for them. And it's going to be Atlanta and the Mets. But I also like your thinking that the Phillies could be the sleeper in that division this year, because they're due for a breakout. And everybody keeps forgetting they do have that. What's his name? Oh yeah, that Harper kid.
They also have a manager named Girardi who knows how to win. And after getting used to the team last year, just a little bit. No DH this year. So my take on it is Atlanta did re-sign Marcell Ozuna. There's not going to be a DH until Interleague comes in the National League this year. Nick Markakis retired, so that's kind of a loss. Professional hitter, but he's going to have to go out and play left field. It's going to be interesting to watch him play left field. Acuna, I mean, what can you say about Acuna? We've seen it for the 3 years there. Philadelphia's offense is great. You never know about their bullpen. No line, as you check our ticker out, no line on the Nationals and Mets game yet with Max Scherzer and Jacob Degrom. Obviously, a great pitching matchup, but we won't have a line on that until tomorrow. Check back on our social pages social media pages for early lines and early picks as we get to it. We'll have picks at the end. Thanks to everybody on Facebook. Robbie, as always, on Facebook with us. Thanks to everybody watching on Facebook. If you missed any of this before 1 o'clock Eastern, get our picks at the end of the show. We're going to take a 30-second break. This is the Make the Money and Run podcast, the Major League Baseball preview, back with the American League and National League Central in 30 seconds. I am fired up for baseball tomorrow after no baseball last year in April. This is the Make the Money and Run podcast, the 2021 Major League Baseball preview edition, our first preview edition. We had all this information last year in April and nowhere to go with it. Kind of like one of those things on vacation last year in April. We had to wait till August to do a preview show last year. Fortunately, we're back. I can't believe it's been 2 years since we've had baseball in April. Every team's going to play tomorrow. I like this Thursday setup where they play opening day on Thursday, and then it goes right through the weekend for the opening series. We've got all sorts of series that are going on already. Interesting series to start with. We're going to move on to the American League Central and the National League Central. Let's start with the American League Central. By the way, he's Charlie O, Casey Freelove. I'm Vasi Vadaparty. Thank you as always for joining the Make the Money and Run podcast. Some programming notes. We'll be back on Friday to preview the Final Four. We're all set up for the Final Four on Saturday and Monday. The women's Final Four also set for Friday and Sunday as well. Of course, we got the NBA, and we'll continue to talk about Major League Baseball as we go. But this is strictly a Major League Baseball show because in less than 13 hours now, we're going to have first pitch by Garrett Cole at 1 o'clock Eastern. All right, gents, we hit the Eastern Seaboard. Now let's hit the Midwest here. Hello to all you folks in the Midwest. It's not midnight yet, so hopefully you're still up with us. Let's start with the American League Central. The Minnesota Twins. I'm not sure what to make of the Minnesota Twins. They did have 36 wins last year, 35 wins for the White Sox. Everybody seems to like the White Sox to overtake them. Cleveland, obviously, they traded Lindor. They let a few guys go. Corey Kluber is out after the second year. Shane Bieber, the Cy Young from last year. He's the ace for the staff. He's going to start tomorrow at Detroit. The Kansas City Royals look like they've improved themselves a little bit from the little I've seen of them in spring training in Arizona. And then the Detroit Tigers, they've got some young pitching on that staff. They don't have the bullpen guys. Joe Menes is their closer. If they can get a lead, and Miguel Cabrera and some of those young guys that they have that can hit, it's all going to be about pitching in this American League Central. Kenta Maeda still with the Twins tomorrow. Still with the Twins. He's opening as the opening day starter tomorrow. But where do we see the American League Central case?
Well, I mean, if you listen to a lot of pundits, the Chicago White Sox are not only a powerful candidate to win this division, but to maybe even get all the way to the Fall Classic. We'll have to wait and see. Division odds: Chicago -150. The Twins will get you back +180. Cleveland 7-1. Tigers 40-1, Royals 43-1. Although later in the show, I'll tell you why they're off as far as their win projections for those Kansas City Royals, in my humble opinion. There's a couple storylines here. I mean, there always is for each team, but you wonder a little bit about Eloy Jimenez and his injury that he had for the White Sox. Who knows how long they're going to be without him? Maybe depth with their pitching, and is Tim Anderson going to be great again this year? Probably. I mean, they're a very good team. I don't want to take anything away from them. I have a lot of respect for what Chicago has done. And then you talked about it. The most intriguing team is, what are we going to get out of those smashing Minnesota Twins? And will we finally see a playoff series win if they're able to qualify, Chuck? I love Sano. I love Donaldson. I love Nelson Cruz. But this is the most snake-bit franchise since the Buffalo Bills, maybe. 18 straight postseason losses. Somebody help out that franchise. I mean, Kirby Puckett's turning over in his grave, and I say that with all due respect. I love Kirby. But I think that is really a fun team to talk about, to look at. Buxton, how's he going to come out and do? And I think those two are going to be neck and neck when it all comes down to it, Chicago and Minnesota.
Yeah, I think it's going to wind up being a two-team race in that division. I think Cleveland will be respectable. Detroit, Kansas City. I mean, I know Kansas City's going to improve a little bit, and they'll be okay. I mean, they won't be horrible to go and watch. And Detroit, AJ Hinch, enjoy your time in hell. That's
in hell. This is heaven compared to what he's been been through the last year.
No, because those folks in Detroit aren't forgiving no matter what the situation's been, and this team's going to be terrible. So he's not going to have a good time there. This is I think it's White Sox in Twins, and I think it's going to be interesting. Casey, I'm like you. I don't know what it's going to take for the Twins to win in the postseason, but they need to do so, and I would like to see them do so. I have a bit of a heart for the Twins. My one and only All-Star game that I ever went to was at the Oakland Coliseum, and I sat in center field, and my good friend John Atkinson and I spent a couple of innings jawing with Kirby, not in a bad way. I mean, just because he was so friendly. He just kept talking to everybody during the game, and I just became a little bit of a Twins fan there. And then, of course, Harmon Killebrew was a A's broadcaster for a number of years, and so I just have a little bit of a place for the Twins in my heart, and they're good baseball fans up there, so I'd like to see them do well. And of course, the White Sox, Gads. I mean, come on. It's about time they get a little respect. I mean, the Cubs got theirs. It's time for the Sox to get theirs.
Chicago White Sox, 2005 World Series champions. They were first before the Cubs in 2016. I'm going to throw two names out at you because I can't think. I think Taylor Rogers is a closer for Minnesota, but Chicago White Sox in the day and age of no complete games, Liam Hendricks at the back end of the bullpen for the White Sox is going to be a stud for them. They're not going to have blown saves like they did because remember the White Sox were by far and away the best team in the American League for 3/4 of the year, 3/4 of a 60-game season, but still 3/4 of the year. And then their bullpen faltered on them, and otherwise they would have won that division going away. And then the Cleveland Indians, for some reason, Brad Hand just got released, designated for assignment, and the Cleveland Indians picked them up for a song, and he's going to be their closer for the Cleveland Indians as well, too. So it's going to be an interesting three-team race, but I got to think, and Eloy Jimenez made a great point on Eloy Jimenez, Casey. He's going to be out 5 to 6 months. People say, why are you trying so hard in preseason games? Folks, you got to understand, these are athletes. They're going out there to play games. They're competitive. In preseason games, one, that's how you get better. Two, it's your natural instinct to go out and compete because if you're not competing, then you shouldn't even be in a preseason game to begin with. So hopefully he's better. The White Sox are going to have to fill that because that's a lot of power. That's a lot of power and pretty good defense out there to be able to take away. But definitely the offensive part of it is where we're going. All right, let's move on to the National League version of the Central Division. The Chicago Cubs won the division last year. I don't think any of us think that the Cubs are going to win the division. St. Louis, obviously, we know about Nolan Arenado being traded by the Colorado Rockies to St. Louis, and St. Louis receiving $50 million on top of it. Boy, Colorado must not have really wanted him to give them $50 million on top of it for one of the best third basemen, one of the best players, forget third baseman, one of the best players in the game today. So you notice St. Louis had 30 games won, Cincinnati had 31, Milwaukee had 29, Pittsburgh had 19. Oh, those Pittsburgh Pirates. I'm feeling bad for John Parado right now. St. Louis had 58 games played. They did not finish the complete season, so that's why that bracket's there for 58. let's look at the St. Louis Cardinals. Let's look at this division. But the St. Louis Cardinals, Goldschmidt at first, Arenado at third. They've got Matt Carpenter moved back to second base. They've got a pretty good outfield out there. They traded Dexter Fowler to the Angels, so he's not there anymore. But they've got guys out there. Harrison Bader. I'm not sure if he's going to start the season on the active roster. But 4 teams. They talk about the NL Central being the weak division, Casey. But 4 teams from last year's 60-game season made the playoffs. The Brewers, the Reds, the Cardinals, and the Cubs all made the playoffs last year. What's your take on the Central Division?
Well, I mean, I don't want to blow smoke up your skirt here, Vasu, but you're making excellent points, man. I mean, everything you said is why this division is so damn hard to decide who you want to pick, even when the odds bear that out here. Cardinals plus 110, Reds plus 320, Brewers plus 370, Cubs plus 390. Clearly, they know the public thinks that the Cardinals are going to be the best team. I don't know if the Cardinals are going to be the best team. I wonder about their depth and their durability at pitching, getting back to my original point of a 162-game sprint. For some reason, I kind of like the Milwaukee Brewers, man. I think they're a talented team. Woodruff, Burns, that's a nice 1-2 punch. You got to expect that Yelich is not going to be what he was last year, which was just puzzling, to say the least. And I think they're definitely a watchable team. It's a tough one to sort out, Chuck, because, again, as Vasu said it to open, the Cubs aren't getting any respect either, and they won the darn division. I think what might happen here is we have a thin the herd thing happen where only one team gets in and the others get denied from even sniffing the wild card because they're all so bunched up around that 80-win total. I think that's where it's going to sit.
I mean, Casey, you look at the projected win totals here. St. Louis, 86.5. And then Milwaukee, 82.5. Cincinnati, 81.5. The Cubs, 78.5. The Brewers 82.5. I mean, who's going to win? Who's going to win the division? I mean, really. I mean, your scenario is absolutely right. This is a division ripe to have one team come out of it, and that's the division winner. Because it looks like everybody's going to beat up on everybody. Now, the one thing I'll tell you, and you guys know that I grew up in Ohio. I grew up 52 miles. Not that I knew exactly, but I grew up 52 miles from Crosley Field. Okay, so I've been a Reds fan all my life. Let me tell you about the Cincinnati Reds. Every year, the Cincinnati Reds go into a season, and everybody talks to them about them having great promise. The key word there is they have great promise. Do not invest any money in the Cincinnati Reds until after the All-Star game, because you won't know who this team is until after the All-Star game. First instincts, we always talk about that. Trust me, I've been following this team since 1955. You'll have no idea who they are until after the All-Star game. Uncle Charlie's spoken.
Vasu, real quick, let me ask you this, because you know this division, and we all know the Cardinals pretty well. It seems to me that really people are getting so caught up in the Arenado hype that they forget how many other guys have to perform well for them to do well. And I mean, I have respect for Paul Goldschmidt. I'm not saying they're going to be a bad team. I just feel like the hype machine is a little too high. Part of it's because they have maybe the best fan base in all of Major League Baseball. I mean, you could certainly argue that. But what do you think about the Cardinals being like the clear-cut choice here? I'm just not buying that.
I want to know who their bullpen is. Adam Wainwright's their ace. I'm sorry, Jack Flaherty's their ace. Adam Wainwright's still on the staff. There was talking about him retiring last year. Cincinnati lost Discofani, and they lost Trevor Bauer as well too. We've got all sorts of things to look at. Pittsburgh traded Josh Bell to the Washington Nationals, so that's a big loss for them. They've got Adam Frazier there, who's a 300 hitter, but they're lacking in pitching right now. Chad Kuhl is going to go for them. He's their designated ace for 2021. The Milwaukee Brewers are kind of the key to me. What kind of year are you going to get for Christian Yelich? Because he was awful last year, and I think a lot of people were awful last year because you didn't know what was going on. Spring training shut down. They didn't have a season. Some teams were able to get better spring training than others. And Christian Yelich, I think he started off 1 for 41 last year. And we all know, and I don't care if he goes 1 for 41 or 10 for 20 for 41. Christian Yelich is in my lineup every day because he's that good of a player, an MVP candidate. So you get years back from Christian Yelich. You get years back from their infield. Keston Harris moved over to first base from second base. They've got their third baseman over there. They've got their outfielders. It's a matter of this bullpen to me is where the bullpens are going to be. Chicago, notoriously bad bullpen. Their closer, I'm not even sure they're closer, but Jordan Hicks has established himself as a closer for the Cardinals, but he's wild. He's 103 miles an hour, but he's wild, and that could be scary for the Cardinals, or that could be scary for opposing hitters. And then Cincinnati, Raisel Iglesias, who had 27 saves 2 years ago for the Reds, he's with the Angels. I saw him on spring training on MLB Network the other day too. So this is a toss-up for me, and the fact that Rizzo and Bryant, there's a lot of talk about who's going to sign or whether they're going to trade them or not. They're still there, and that's a fixture in the lineup with the Chicago Cubs. And Liam Hendricks is really good, and he's going to get the start tomorrow against the Pirates at about a $2 favorite, even with a so-called depleted Chicago Cubs offense. But I just got to think right now, I'm not going to give up on the Cubs until, and I'm not a Cubs fan. I am a Chicago fan, but I'm not a Cubs fan. But I'm not going to give up on the Cubs yet until I see what the Cardinals do and how the Reds react to not having 2/5 of the pitching staff from last year, because Sclafani and Bauer were good, and that's the reason, and they were the reasons that they got two of the reasons they got into the playoffs. All right, the American League Central, the National League Central. Thanks to everybody on Facebook Live, by the way. I want to give some shout-outs here. Robbie, go Giants. 5 Nats guys out, as he said. Stables Media post. I'm going to say that's Stephanie Harris because it all comes through Stables Media webpage. And then, of course, Grand Poobah, thinking of you, Tony. Brother V and Sunshine K. I don't know what Sunshine Casey is. It must be the sunshine up my skirt comment that got him going on that. But Tony Russo, we welcome you. Padres kick the Dodgers' asses. Let's see about that, Tony. That might have to be an adult beverage bet here by the time the end of the season rolls around. So we'll have 6 months for that as well. He is Casey Freelove. I am Bossy Battle Party. That's Charlie O. We're going to come back with the American League West and the National League West. We all are on the West Coast, so these are two divisions that we all know very well, which doesn't mean that we're going to be right, but we're still going to talk about it. Bossy Battle Party, Casey Freelove. Thanks to everybody on Facebook Live, Stables Media YouTube page, powered by Stables Media. Don't forget, if you miss any of this before 1 o'clock Eastern, to get our picks and to get our futures, you can download anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts. We will be back in 30 seconds with the American League West, the National League West. Thanks to everybody again for watching the Make the Money and Run podcast. Back at 30. Welcome back to the Make the Money and Run podcast, the Major League Baseball preview show for 2021. Baseball starting on April 1st. It is after April 1st on the East Coast, so you got about 12 and a half hours before Garrett Cole throws the first pitch at Yankee Stadium against the Toronto Blue Jays for the New York Yankees. Check out the bottom, the ticker. We have the ticker of all the opening day lines. Garrett Cole going to start a 171 favorite, Toronto versus Hyun-Jin Ryu. Shane Bieber going at Detroit against Matthew Boyd. The only thing that may be good for Detroit for Boyd. Nathan Eovaldi, 164 over the Baltimore Orioles. Kansas City, 157 with Blake Keller versus Texas. And then Lucas Giolito at the Angels tomorrow night against Dylan Bundy. Slight favorite, 113. Let's go through the other lines here real quick. The A's and Astros are going to play in Oakland tomorrow night. Chris Bassett, about an even pick with Zach Greinke, 8 the total. Milwaukee, Brandon Woodruff, they're a slight favorite against the Twins. The Twins with 36 wins last year out of the 60 games, 109, 7.5 the total. Tampa Bay, Tyler Glasnow. We know about the Tampa Bay Rays from the World Series. Get at Miami, interstate matchup against Sandy Alcantara. The Alcantara is the pitcher for Miami, and their total is 7.5. And then Marco Gonzalez versus Kevin Gausman, the Seattle Mariners in the Bay Area here, the San Francisco Giants, going to kick off their season in Seattle tomorrow. Funny story about Marco Gonzalez before we get to the NL West, since we're going to lead into that. So I'll start with this. Marco Gonzalez throws about 89, 90 miles an hour. I'm sure you guys have seen him pitch. He's the ace for the Seattle Mariners. Talking to Dave Sims, their broadcaster, a few weeks ago. He really likes him. He went to Gonzaga. He played baseball at Gonzaga, so he's fired up. So I'm sure you guys saw my post, and those of you out there that follow me on social media, Marco Gonzalez is so pumped up about Gonzaga, he may lose all his control by pumping up to 92 or 93. Or he may be so hyped up that he's going to throw a 3-hitter against the Giants tomorrow night and shut them out and get ready for his next start on Monday after the Final Four game with Gonzaga and UCLA. So that's going to be an interesting matchup. That's going to be the last game, one of the last games of the night, along with the Angels and the White Sox at 10 o'clock Eastern as well. All right, this is who we are. We are Vasu Vatapati, Casey Freelove, and Charlie O, the Make the Money and Run podcast, the baseball preview for 2021. Let's move on in our limited time here. Let's move on to the American League West, the division that we know well, Casey Station. And for those that don't know, that don't watch a regular show during the daytime, Casey has a station that he works at in Auburn, California, near Sacramento. They're an affiliate of the Oakland A's. So he sees a lot of Oakland A's games. He hears a lot of Oakland A's games. Charlie has covered a number of Oakland A's games from his perch in Sacramento. And I've covered a lot of Giants games and also worked for the network on Saturday baseball. So I've seen a lot of baseball between the three of us. We've seen more baseball than we can imagine. We're not that old, but we've seen a lot of baseball in our time.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, well, some of us are. But we're here to preview. We're here to preview. If you missed the American League Central, the National League Central, the NL East, the AL East, download and subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts, you can get our previews for the other divisions. Let's hit the American League West. Casey, your Oakland A's, they had 36 wins last year. Very disappointing in the first round against the Houston Astros, the rival. They're going to open up against the Astros tomorrow night. Can't think of two better teams to play against each other tomorrow. The A's holding out Mike Fiers against the Astros. That's a story we'll go into later in the year. I'm sure everybody knows it by now. Mike Fiers is the one that outed the Astros in the cheating scandal. Seattle Mariners, they're going to be healthy this year, and they're going to be good. I talked about Marco Gonzalez. The LA Angels, Mike Trout, one playoff appearance in his 9 years in Major League Baseball. They've got some pitching this year. Dylan Bundy has looked good preseason. Their closer, they're going to use Raisel Iglesias because their closers the last few years have been garbage. And then the Texas Rangers, how you doing, Nate Miller, Billy Ball in Texas? I'm going to feel bad for you guys at Globe Life Field. It's a beautiful stadium, but at least you get to see the Rangers play in that stadium this year for 162 games. But Oakland and Houston, Casey, with a little bit of Seattle.
Yeah, I think the A's are going to pick up right where they pick up every year, where they'll have a slow start. People will start to doubt them, and then they'll win over whatever Las Vegas's projected total is this year, being 86.5. It's just what they do. Okay, the thing I want to, as we talk about this, and Charlie, take this when I throw it over to you, is Frankie Montas, Jesus Luzardo, Chris Bassett, Sean Manaea, and Mike Fiers all going to be there for the duration of this season? Are they going to see some help from the minor league? There's a lot of questions with the starting pitching and health. I know this team can play good defense. I know that the Mats are going to be back. I believe in Chapman and Olsen. I'm not even angry that Marcus Semien had to go. Every year you wanted him to do a little more. He did have one really, really great season and a bunch of other good ones, but I'm okay with the trade, and I like Elvis Andrus in there. I just kind of like this roster up and down. I mean, Sean Murphy's an up-and-coming guy behind the plate. Losing Liam Hendriks does hurt because, Trevor Rosenthal is maybe not Liam Hendriks, but the thing the A's have shown you, oh, don't worry, we've got some prospect in Double-A you've never even heard of, and he'll be probably an all-star closer before this thing's all said and done. On the Astros, again, I want to know, is Greinke and McCullers going to be there? What's the deal with Odorizzi? Is he going to be able to play? Is there hope that Justin Verlander returns? Because, again, when we look at offense and capability, Bregman and Correa, and if Altuve is the Altuve we think he's been for basically every year of his career except for one, they're going to kick ass with their offense, and they're going to score a bunch of runs, and they're going to win a whole bunch of games. I think it is a two-team division. I don't want to just ramble on those two teams, but it is their division to win, one of them. Right now, if we look at projections, A's plus 120, Astros plus 160, followed by the Angels at plus 380, who are a hell of an intriguing team as well, Chuck, because I can't wait to see Ohtani. I'm praying for his health because I think we've been shorted a little bit as fans with the hype machine that he had coming in. Of course, they've got the most watchable player in Major League Baseball as well. And as Vasu said, they've been in such a drought that maybe it would be nice to see Mike Trout on a big stage playing during the postseason. I don't know if this is that year, though, Chuck.
Casey, first of all, let's talk about the Angels. They have two of my favorite baseball people there, and that is Mike Trout, who I just think, how can you not like Mike Trout? Talented, does everything right. Signed a long-term deal with the team that drafted him. Family guy, all those things that you want. Good image, and then he's got Joe Madden as his manager. I mean, Joe Madden is my favorite manager since Sparky Anderson, and anybody who knows me, you're getting up in pretty high level territory when I say that. So I love those guys. I really do. And I appreciate the fact that they've got an owner who's been willing to spend some money and do that. But you know what? There's something wrong in that organization. And I don't know what it is. I don't know whether they just have never put together the right baseball guy at the top to put it all together, but they're not together as an organization. They don't have the right, their minor league system isn't feeding right. They don't make the right other moves in their trades. The pool host thing, and I like Albert, don't get me wrong. Albert's another one of those good guys, but that deal has just been an albatross around their neck. And I don't think they're going to be competitive this year. I really don't. I think you're absolutely nailed it. It's Houston, it's Oakland. And for Oakland, it's going to be who can close. And the answer to your question is, will all of those pitchers stay healthy? It's the Oakland A's. Absolutely not. What will be the difference? It's going to be some kid that's going to be in Midland, Odessa right now, that's going to come out of nowhere, that's going to show up on the mound while 2 or 3 of them are on the injury list and get ready for September, who's going to come and save the day. That's what Oakland does.
Geez, Charlie, it's April 1st, only on the East Coast already. It's 0-0 on the record. Let's give some of these A's fans a little hope before let's see how these pitchers.
I'm giving them lots of hope. There's some kid that they don't know on the roster in Midland, Odessa, who's going to ride in on Charlie Old the Mule, and he's going to yay.
I'll say this. I'm not going to discount the Seattle Mariners' Mitch Haniger, who hasn't played in 2 years. Well, their power hitting right fielder, he's back. He's going to be back for the full season this year. Hopefully injury. Kyle Lewis is starting on the IR for Seattle. He's their best player. Of course, Kyle Seager is there as well, too, at third base. That's Corey Seager's brother. Corey Seager has certainly overtaken him from the standpoint of notoriety in Seattle. And then, of course, our friends Dave Sims and Rick Riz up there broadcasting are in their
great.
15, 20 years there. Rick Riz been there a little bit longer. So it'd be nice to see them win. I'm not counting Seattle out yet. I like Gonzalez. I like their bullpen a little bit. The Oakland A's, hopefully this doesn't go back into a pattern. They start off slow in the first half and then have to go like ball busters in the second half just to get the best record in the second half just to get there. And then the Angels, God, I hope for Mike Trout's sake that they have a chance to get there. And then the Texas Rangers, they traded Elvis Andrus. They've lost some players on that team, and I'm not sure exactly what direction they're going from that standpoint. Bannister's going to have a tough time with them at the end of the year. All right, Busty Battle Party, Casey Free Love, Charlie O. Let's move on to the National League West before we get to tomorrow's lines. Oh, my gosh, look at this. 43 wins out of 60 games last year for the Los Angeles Dodgers and World Championship status. San Diego Padres, 37 wins. The San Francisco Giants, 29 wins, were one base hit away on the last day of the season of getting into the playoffs and taking out the Brewers in the Central. And then Colorado, we mentioned the Nolan Arenado trade. I don't know what they're doing in Colorado. We'll give you our best player and send you $50 million just because we like the St. Louis Cardinals. And then the Arizona Diamondbacks are going to have Madison Bumgarner on the mound tomorrow. He's healthy. He's going up against Yu Darvish. Darvish about a $2 favorite. I can't remember the last time that Madison Bumgarner had to face a pitcher as a $2 underdog, basically, for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Are they that bad? We know the Padres are going to be that good. Colorado, what's it going to be as far as 4th and 5th place, Colorado or Arizona? And I think the Giants are good. And I think the Giants, they've been hitting in the spring training. If Gausman and Cueto and Alex Wood comes off the injured list and DeSclafani gets out of Cincinnati like we talked about in the Central Division preview, and he comes to San Francisco with a bigger ballpark, he can win some games there. And I would not put them past having a chance to compete with the Padres. But, and I'm not saying this as a fan, but it's going to be awfully hard to beat the Dodgers. I'm going to start with Charlie on this one. It's going to be awfully hard to beat the Dodgers on this one, Charlie.
I'm sorry. Did you just say the Giants have a chance to compete with the Padres?
I believe they do. I believe they do.
Stick your tongue out. I want to see what the bumps look like on it.
My first shot is tomorrow. Maybe I'll change my mind after tomorrow.
So I know you're a Dodgers fan, and I know you're trying to be nice to our friends who are Giants fans. The Giants have no chance.
Well, I didn't say they were going to win the division.
They don't even
want to
win
the division.
This is
all right. Go ahead. Give us your preview. We're on time here. Give us your preview.
This is the year of the tank. This is year 2 of the tank. All they want to do is get through this. They want to get rid of Buster Posey's contract. They're just trying to get through. This is the rebuild. We don't. If you want to know what's going on with the Giants, look at what's happening at in San Jose. With the low A ball team there now. Look what's happening at high A ball. Look what's happening in Richmond with the double A team. That's what's happening with the Giants. Seriously. I know that because I'm around that organization and I'm around people that are with the organization. That's what's happening with the Giants. So no, they're not competitive with the Padres in any way, shape, or form. Sorry. I just, no. And that's part of their plan. It's okay. It's part of their plan. They should be reducing the price of their tickets to their fans because of it, but that's part of their plan. It's a Dodgers-Padres division, and I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be competitive. I already am planning to go to San Diego at least once and to LA at least once to see these teams play because we can get in because we can get press passes, and I am going to go see these teams play because I think it's going to be bloody awesome baseball.
Casey, let me ask you before you give your preview here, what do you think about the Padres' chances to compete with the Dodgers in the NL West this year? Because obviously the two teams are there in the improved pitching staff of San Diego with Snell and Darvish starting off the season for San Diego.
Yeah, that's what's going to be interesting is how much time does it take for those couple of guys to adapt to their new ballpark. And I hate that we do this to ourselves because we like to go for 60 minutes straight. We often back ourselves into the corner when we have so much more information we want to get out there. Because I don't like the back end of the Padres starting rotation nearly as much as I do the Dodgers, I think LA will win the division comfortably. That'll be my bold statement for the year. Lamet, Musgrove, Paddock, I just don't know. Because when I look at the Dodgers depth chart, it's just pure insanity. I mean, I love what this team has done. I know I'm in NorCal, so I'm supposed to hate them, but I don't. I was happy they won the World Series, happy for my friend, and I'll be happy to watch them win a bunch of games this year, including in person myself. I've got a trip to Chavez Ravine in my future. Look, Kershaw, Bauer, Buehler, Urias, May, they're just stacked. They're only going to get better. I guess the only question will be, if Jock Peterson has like a monster year for the Cubs, will the Dodger fans be all upset about that? But they'll be upset about that while they're worried about whether or not they're setting the all-time National League wins total. They're trying to match, I think, the 1909 Pirates at 110, and I don't see why not. I would literally bet this over at 102.5. Last thing, Vasu, I know you want to go on this. Dodgers minus 260, Padres plus 203. I can't get 2-1 odds and think the Padres are going to be better than them. I'm backing off that bet. Giants basically plus 400, Rockies plus 500, Diamondbacks plus 500. I'll stay away from them. You've got a great team. They only gave us a sprinkling of what they were potential of doing. And what a great time to be Clayton Kershaw saying, I'm just the number 3 here. I'll just hang out behind these other two guys and go ahead and win myself a bunch of games against middling stars. It's going to be a joy to be a Dodger fan this year, in my opinion.
Clayton Kershaw getting his 8th straight opening day start. Yu Darvish going to start for the Padres. Kevin Gausman for the Giants tomorrow. I didn't see who the Rocky starter was. I know Madison Bumgarner is going to start for the Diamondbacks tomorrow against those Padres. All right, we're not going to take a break here. We'll go right to the games for tomorrow. Vasi Vadaparty, Casey Freelove, Charlie O. What on this first set of games here? Garrett Cole, we already have this up. Garrett Cole against the Blue Jays. Shane Bieber, the Cy Young Award winner last year. Nathan Eovaldi pitching for the Red Sox against Baltimore. Probably not a high viewing game, but it is opening day. And then Lucas Giolito, very underrated Lucas Giolito, going into Anaheim tomorrow night. Casey, I'll start with you.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think obviously it's opening day, so you've got tasty matchups everywhere. And I think if we're trying to keep on the clock here, I'll just run right into my picks and mix in the game talk while we get to it. I'm going to ride with Chris Bassett and the A's. They were 20-16 against their division last year. Houston, believe it or not, despite qualifying for the playoffs, finished 2 games under 500 against American League West foes. And Oakland knows them so well. They don't fear them. They don't like them. And I think Bassett's going to come out there and have a good performance. I expect a low-scoring game because I'm definitely a fan of Zach Greinke as well. So I think that's a good one to watch out here if you're a West Coast guy. Taking a bit of a flyer on my other pick, I'm going to go under 7 with the Braves and Phillies, and this will all be depending on if Max Fried and Aaron Nola pitch like Max Fried and Aaron Nola are capable of. So if they don't, I could look like a real dumbass. They could get murdered tomorrow, and this thing could fly over the total. Something about the line movement and the late things going on here, the fact that they won't move it up to 7.5, has me thinking this is going to be one of those weird 3-2, 4-2 kind of finals. I'm not even sure who's going to win it, but I will stay low. Phillies, Braves under 7, A's minus 105 against the Astros, basically a pick 'em. And on other shows, folks, believe me, I promise we will explain in depth the variation in money line wagering. Best thing you can do tonight, get your notepad out like I do, or get on an Excel spreadsheet if you're into the tech, and track your picks every single day. It's the only way you're going to notice your own thought processes and your trends and fix basically things that you're doing wrong, because we all do it, Chuck.
Absolutely. And you're right. Tracking. It's all what it's all about. You hear about sabermetrics, you hear about analytics. Well, it's the same way when you're wagering. You better do that. Otherwise, you're going to find empty pockets and go, what happened? So Casey's made me a believer in that. And it really does make a difference. Let's just talk about games and talk about picks, because I know we're running down.
Go ahead with your picks and a little analysis here on the games tomorrow.
Yep. I've got 2 picks for tomorrow. I'm going to start off in Denver. I've got the Clayton Kershaw. Thank you, Vinny. And going up against Herman Marquez and the Dodgers Rockies game. And what I'm going to do in that game is I am going to take the over of 12 runs there in that game, because it's going to be 68 degrees tomorrow in Denver, and it's a daytime game. And we all know it in the daytime in Colorado, that ball will fly. And I think that there will be some fireworks. And you know what we say about first instincts, and it's the Dodgers in thin air. So I like that one.
What do we say about first instincts? I said that the other day. There it is, right there.
There it is. There it is, baby.
Point it out.
There it is. And then you know what? Vest is going to be my new best friend. I shouldn't say that. We've been great friends for so long. I shouldn't even have to say that. But my second game is going to be in Anaheim tomorrow night, and Lucas Giolito, who's pitching I love, is going up against Dylan Bundy, White Sox and the Angels. And in that game, I'm going to go money line because I'm not going to get too carried away there, but I'm going to take the White Sox minus 120 in that game, just because I am a believer in the Sox and not a great believer in the Angels.
All right, I'm going to roll in. I'm going to go with Garrett Cole tomorrow against the Toronto Blue Jays. I want to see Toronto beat Garrett Cole. I think he's going to be fired up as the opening day pitcher. I like Shane Bieber on the road at Detroit tomorrow as well, and I do like Lucas Giolito on that screen. I like the A's. I'm going to go with the A's tomorrow night against that Houston offense, and then I'm going to go with the Seattle Mariners on that pick as well too. And then in the last set of games here, 3 interleague games as we have going on right there, I'm going to do a parlay with the Chicago Cubs because they're a heavy favorite, and I'm going to go with Yu Darvish and the Padres. A small parlay. It's not going to pay very much, but I just want to get my record going on April 1st. We'll see how that goes as well too. We are close to the end of the program. Anything that you're looking for, one thing in about 30 seconds, Casey. What's your one thing you're looking for in Major League Baseball?
Look, we're gonna talk a lot more gambling, because I'm prepared to give you folks some good information. Stick with us. The only thing I could say, if you're playing baseball, you got to list the pitchers, and you have to wait. One handicap that this show has: we're on too damn early. Wait until right before the game gets going. You check the roster. You make sure there's nobody on the COVID list, and you make sure that you say, I want to list pitchers when you walk to the window. That's my short bit of advice, and we are going to go long form on that for the next 6 months. I swear to God, Chuck.
Yes,
Charlie,
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Casey's absolutely right on that. And the other thing, folks, watch the weather. These guys will tell you, I'm a big believer in watching the weather. Is it hot? Is it cold? Is the air thin? Is it windy? Is it blowing in? Is it blowing out? All of those things make a difference in the course of a game, and should make a difference, especially if you're playing run totals.
Vasu Vada Party, Casey Free Left, Charlie O, the Make the Money and Run Major League Baseball preview. 9 more hours till opening day, or 12 more hours till opening day. I can't wait till Garrett Cole comes in. Join us on Friday. We'll have the Final Four preview. We'll have everything set up for the Final Four. We'll talk Major League Baseball and the NBA. We appreciate everybody on Facebook Live, Staples Media YouTube page live. If you want to get our previews, download and subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts, at Apple, Spotify, anywhere on the internet that you can find us as well too. The staplesmedia.com page as well too. Well, we did it. We got it all done in an hour, boys. I can't wait till first pitch tomorrow by Garrett Cole, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We'll be back on Friday at 4:15, and we will see you then. Have a great evening, everybody, and thanks for joining us for the Major League Baseball preview for the Make the Money and Run podcast for 2021. Take care.